At a party celebrating their 10th wedding anniversary at a posh hotel in Miami, Daniel heard his wife Sophie joke, "I'd gladly trade Daniel for that tall hunk by the pool." Her words, spoken with a smile but without a whisper, shattered his world. It wasn't just a joke. It was a sign that their marriage was falling apart. Daniel realized that it was time to act, but not with shouting, but with reason. The rooftop party at Miami's Ocean Breeze Hotel pulsed with laughter and clinking glasses, celebrating Daniel and Sofia Garcia's 10th wedding anniversary. Daniel, a 38-year-old marketing strategist, leaned against the bar, sipping a mojito, the ice catching the neon glow of the city skyline. He'd planned this night for months, hoping to rekindle the spark in their marriage. Sofia, 36, a creative director at a top ad agency, mingled with her colleagues across the deck. Her laugh carried over the crowd, sharp and carefree, but it wasn't directed at him. "Man, I'd trade Daniel for that tall guy by the pool in a heartbeat," Sofia said loudly, pointing at a young man in a crisp blazer, her voice slicing through the chatter. She didn't whisper. She wanted Daniel to hear. Her co-workers snickered, their glances darting toward him. Daniel froze, the mojito turning bitter in his mouth. He forced a chuckle, pretending to miss the jab, but the words lodged in his chest like a splinter. 10 years of marriage, and this was her gift, a public jab at his worth. Sophia sauntered over, her posture relaxed, her smile too bright. "Oh, come on, Danny, it was just a joke," she said, nudging his arm. Her touch felt rehearsed, like a line she'd practiced. Daniel nodded, swallowing the sting. "Sure, Soph. Funny." But it wasn't funny. It was a crack in the facade he'd ignored for months. Her late nights at the office, the new gym obsession, the locked phone screen she angled away from him. He'd chalked it up to her high-pressure job, but now doubt gnawed at him. Across the deck, 3 of Sophia's co-workers whispered, their smirks barely hidden. They'd heard her comment, and their amusement fueled Daniel's unease. This wasn't a private moment gone wrong. It was a performance. Sophia was playing to an audience, and he was the punchline. "I'm grabbing another drink," Daniel said, standing abruptly. "Hey, isn't that Raphael over there? Your new co-worker? Why don't you say hi?" Sophia's eyes lit up, a flicker of excitement she didn't bother to mask. "Really? You cool with that?" "Go for it," Daniel replied, his smile tight. "Have fun." As she walked toward Raphael, her stride shifted, shoulders back, hips swaying, a confidence she hadn't shown Daniel in years. Raphael, the agency's new marketing hotshot, was 30, all charm and ambition. Daniel had met him at a company mixer, noticed Sophia's gaze linger on him too long. Now, watching her lean in close, laughing at something Raphael whispered, Daniel felt the ground shift beneath him. He moved to the bar, signaling for a whiskey. The bartender, a wiry guy with a knowing look, slid the glass over. "Rough night, man?" he asked. Daniel's eyes stayed on Sophia and Raphael, their heads bent together, creating a bubble no one else could enter. "You could say that," he muttered. "Anniversary going south," the bartender pressed, wiping down the counter. 10 years, Daniel confirmed, his voice low. The bartender nodded toward the pair. "Doesn't look like a celebration." Daniel took a slow sip, the burn of the whiskey grounding him. "What would you do if you thought your wife was stepping out?" he asked, half to himself. The bartender paused, considering. "Caught my ex cheating once. Made a big scene, trashed some furniture. Didn't fix anything, just made me look like the fool. Next time, I got smart, quietly gathered proof, secured my money, walked away clean. Less drama, more control." Daniel nodded, the words sinking in. "Good advice," he said, his mind already turning. As he watched Sophia giggle at Raphael's side, a cold resolve settled in. This wasn't about a single cruel joke. It was about months of subtle shifts, her sudden need for space, the unexplained credit card charges, the way she'd stopped asking about his day. He wasn't blind anymore. "Another whiskey?" the bartender asked. "Nah," Daniel said, standing. "I've got work to do." He stepped away from the bar, his phone already in hand, texting his old college buddy, Javier, a private investigator. "Need your help. Can we talk tonight?" Javier replied within minutes. Name the time and place. Daniel set a meeting for the next morning, then glanced back at Sophia. She and Raphael were now seated at a table, their knees brushing, her hand grazing his arm. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he didn't react. Instead, he slipped toward the exit, catching a glimpse of Laura, one of Sophia's co-workers, watching him with concern. She'd always been kind, unlike the others. "You okay, Daniel?" she asked, stepping closer. He hesitated, then decided to trust her. "Laura, what's going on with Sophia and Raphael?" Her face softened with sympathy. I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but people have noticed things. For a few months now. It started at the holiday party you missed. Daniel's stomach churned. He'd been home with a fever that night, trusting Sophia's excuse about a late client dinner. Thanks for the heads up, he said, his voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. Laura nodded. Be careful, okay? Some of us are rooting for you. Back in their hotel suite, Daniel poured another drink and sat by the window, the Miami skyline sprawling below. His phone buzzed. Laura again, sending a photo. It showed Sophia and Raphael in a corner of the bar, their lips locked, no pretense of discretion. Thought you should see this, her message read. I'm sorry. Daniel saved the image, his hand steady. He opened his banking app and moved half their joint savings to his personal account. A precaution, not revenge. Then he called Javier. I need you to dig into Sophia's life, he said, voice low. Phone, emails, finances, everything. I want the truth. You sure? Javier asked. This kind of thing can get messy. I'm sure, Daniel replied. I'm done being the clueless husband. After hanging up, he emailed his lawyer, Maria Torres, scheduling a consultation. Then he began jotting down every odd detail he could recall. Sophia's work trips, the new perfume, the locked phone. It wasn't much, but it was a start. By the time Sophia stumbled into the suite at 3 a.m., giggling and reeking of Raphael's cologne, Daniel was in bed, eyes half open, watching her delete a text thread before plugging in her phone. He didn't move. Tomorrow, he'd begin unraveling her lies. Daniel woke before dawn in their Miami hotel suite, the hum of the city outside barely audible. Sophia slept soundly, her phone charging on the nightstand, its screen dark but loaded with secrets. He slipped out of bed, careful not to wake her, and grabbed his laptop. Last night's photo from Laura, Sophia and Raphael locked in a kiss, burned in his mind, fueling his focus. He wasn't the guy who'd beg for answers or make a scene. He'd be smarter, surgical. Today, he'd start dismantling the lies. By 7 a.m., Daniel was at a coffee shop in Coral Gables, meeting Javier, his old college friend turned private investigator. Javier slid into the booth, a tablet in hand. You look like you haven't slept, he said, eyeing Daniel's coffee. Sleep can wait, Daniel replied, pushing his phone across the table. That's Sophia and her co-worker Raphael last night. I need everything you can get on them. Texts, emails, bank records. Javier scrolled through the photo, his brow furrowing. This is serious, man. You ready for what I might find? Daniel nodded. Just get it done. Fast. Javier agreed to start immediately, promising a preliminary report within 48 hours. Daniel handed over Sophia's email login. Her passwords were predictably lazy, recycled from years ago, and a list of their joint accounts. Check for anything unusual, Daniel said. She's been cagey about money lately. Javier pocketed the info. I'll dig deep. But watch your back. If she's hiding this much, she won't like you sniffing around. Daniel left the meeting with a plan forming. Protect his finances, gather evidence, and stay one step ahead. Back at the hotel, Sophia was up, scrolling her phone over coffee. You're up early, she said, barely glancing at him. Work stuff. Daniel lied, matching her casual tone. Got a big pitch coming up. She nodded, uninterested, already typing a message. Daniel watched her fingers move, wondering if it was Raphael on the other end. You heading to the office today, he asked. Yeah, client meetings all day, she said, too quickly. He didn't press. Instead, he packed his bag and left for the airport, cutting their anniversary trip short. Got a meeting in Boston. He texted her from the gate. See you at home. On the flight, Daniel opened his banking app again. Yesterday's transfer of half their savings was just the start. He flagged recent transactions, a $2,000 charge for a consulting fee he'd never heard of, a $1,500 hotel bill from a weekend Sophia claimed she was visiting her cousin. He screenshot everything, then called his financial advisor, Carla, from the plane. I need to lock down my accounts, he told her. Something's off with our joint funds. Carla agreed to audit their portfolio and freeze any unauthorized withdrawals. This could get complicated, she warned. If Sophia's moving money, we need to trace it. Daniel authorized her to start immediately. Back in Miami, Daniel drove straight to his lawyer, Maria Torres, who squeezed him into her schedule. In her sleek downtown office, he laid out the situation. Sophia's public jab at the party, the photo from Laura, the suspicious charges. Maria listened, jotting notes. You've done well to secure some assets already, she said. But we need more. Proof of infidelity, financial misconduct, Anything to strengthen your position if this goes to divorce. Daniel nodded. I've got Javier on it. What else? Maria handed him a checklist. Document their home's purchase records, gather credit reports, secure personal valuables. Your house in Coral Gables, she added. You bought it with your inheritance, right? That's key. We can argue it's separate property. Daniel spent the afternoon at their brownstone, combing through files. The deed confirmed the house was purchased with his late father's money, a fact Sophia had always downplayed. He photographed every page, then accessed Sophia's laptop, left open on the kitchen counter. Her email was a goldmine. Flirty exchanges with Raphael dating back 6 months, not 3, as Laura had thought. One message detailed a work trip to Orlando that matched a $3,000 charge on their joint card. Another showed Sophia booking a spa day with client funds. Daniel saved it all to an encrypted drive, his anger simmering but controlled. That evening, Sophia came home late, her perfume sharp and unfamiliar. Long day, Daniel asked, stirring pasta on the stove, playing the oblivious husband. Exhausting, she sighed, kicking off her shoes. Big pitch prep with Raphael. Her phone buzzed, and she angled it away, typing quickly. Daniel caught a glimpse of Raphael's name before she locked the screen. You two seem close, he said, keeping his tone light. Sophia froze for a split second. Just work, she said, avoiding his eyes. He's good with clients. Daniel smiled, letting it drop. He wasn't ready to tip his hand. The next morning, Javier called with an update. Got something already, he said. Sophia's been wiring money to a separate account in her name, $15,000 over the past 4 months. Also, her phone's GPS shows her at a condo in Brick Hill multiple times when she said she was at the office. Daniel's grip tightened on his phone. Whose condo? Still checking, Javier said. But it's not Raphael's. Might be another player. Daniel's mind raced. Another man? Or a secret hideout? Keep digging, he told Javier. I want names, dates, everything. To clear his head, Daniel hit the gym for the first time in years. He'd let himself go, too busy keeping up with Sophia's demands. The weights felt heavy, but each rep steadied him. He signed up for a trainer, committing to daily sessions. If Sophia was building a new life, he'd rebuild himself, stronger, sharper. By noon, he was back at work, pitching a bold campaign that earned nods from his boss. You're on fire, Garcia, his manager said. Keep this up, and you're in line for a promotion. Daniel smiled. The old him would have brushed it off. The new him saw opportunity. That night, Laura texted again. Sophia and Raphael are at it again. Overheard them planning a work trip to NYC this weekend. Not sure it's work. Attached was a screenshot of Sophia's calendar, snagged from her desk, showing a stay at the Plaza Hotel. Daniel's jaw clenched. He called the hotel, posing as a concerned spouse, and flagged his credit card for potential fraud. Just make sure the cardholder's ID matches at check-in, he said smoothly. The clerk agreed. It wasn't much, but it would rattle Sophia's plans. As he hung up, another text came in, this time from Carla. Found something odd, she said. Sophia took out a $25,000 home equity loan against your house. Your signature's on it, but it looks forged. Daniel's blood ran cold. The house, his inheritance, their biggest asset, was being leveraged behind his back. He forwarded the info to Maria, who replied instantly. This changes things. Get me those loan documents ASAP. Daniel spent the next hour digging through their safe, finding the forged papers tucked beneath old tax returns. He photographed them, his hands shaking with betrayal. Sophia came home after midnight, her eyes glassy from drinks. Late meeting? Daniel asked, flipping through a sports app on his phone. Yeah, team dinner, she mumbled, heading for the shower. Her phone buzzed on the counter, and Daniel glanced at it. A text from Raphael. Can't wait for NYC. Just us. Daniel's heart pounded, but he stayed calm. He plugged in a cloning device Javier had given him, copying her phone's data in minutes. By morning, he'd have every message, every call, every lie. Lying in bed, Daniel stared at the ceiling. Sophia's betrayal wasn't just personal. It was calculated, financial, ruthless. But he wasn't the pushover she thought. He'd protect what was his, expose her game, and walk away on his terms. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Daniel sat at his desk in their Coral Gables home, the clone data from Sophia's phone lighting up his laptop screen. It was Friday morning, and she'd just left for the airport, claiming a critical client meeting in New York. The data told a different story. Text between Sophia and Raphael planning a weekend at the Plaza Hotel, complete with dinner reservations and a Broadway show, all charged to Daniel's credit card. His fraud alert at the hotel would hit them soon, but he needed more than a small disruption. He needed to dismantle her carefully built lies. Javier's latest report landed in his inbox. Got a name for the Betrayal condo, he wrote. Leased by Sophia under her maiden name. Paid in cash from your joint account. She's been there with Rafael and another guy, Carlos Mendez, a client from her firm. Daniel's pulse quickened. Carlos, a married exec with deep ties to Miami's business elite, was a new piece in the puzzle. Javier attached photos, Sophia and Carlos leaving the condo, her arm looped through his. Daniel forwarded the images to his lawyer, Maria, with a note. Check if this complicates things. Maria replied instantly. This could strengthen your case. Keep me posted. Daniel shifted focus to their finances. Carla, his advisor, had uncovered more. Sophia had opened a secret credit card with a $10,000 limit, racking up charges for jewelry and weekend getaways Daniel never knew about. Worse, she'd siphoned another $5,000 from their savings into her hidden account. Daniel instructed Carla to freeze all joint accounts completely, leaving just enough for Sophia's trip to avoid tipping her off. She's playing a long game, Carla warned. If she's planning a divorce, she's hiding assets. Daniel agreed, authorizing a deeper audit of their investments. At the gym, Daniel pushed through a grueling session, the burn in his muscles channeling his anger. His trainer, noticing his intensity, grinned. You're a different guy, Garcia. Keep this up, you'll be unstoppable. Daniel nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. He wasn't just reshaping his body. He was forging a new mindset, focused, unbreakable. Back home, he called Laura, Sophia's co-worker who'd tipped him off. I need a favor, he said. Can you get me Sophia's expense reports? Discreetly. Laura hesitated, then agreed. Give me till Monday. I'll pull what I can. Saturday morning, Daniel's phone rang. It was Sophia, her voice tight with panic. The hotel's saying there's an issue with your card, she snapped. They're demanding ID, and my cards aren't working either. Fix this, Daniel. He leaned back in his chair, calm. That's weird. My card worked fine this morning. You're at the plaza, right? Not the Marriott the company usually books? Silence hung heavy. Plans changed, she mumbled. Okay, I'll call the bank, Daniel said smoothly. How much do you need for the weekend? She hesitated. Room's $800 a night, plus extras. Daniel whistled. Pricey for a work trip. Company covering that? Her reply was curt. Just handle it, okay? He hung up, smirking. The fraud alert had worked, sowing chaos without exposing his hand. He didn't call the bank. Instead, he texted Javier, tracks Sophia's movements in NYC. I want proof of where she goes. Javier confirmed, already tapping into her phone's GPS. By afternoon, Laura sent a cryptic message. Check your email. Found something big. Attached were Sophia's expense reports, showing falsified claims for client dinners and travel that matched her rendezvous with Rafael. One report listed a $2,000 dinner in Orlando, the same weekend she'd claimed to visit family. Daniel saved the files, his case growing stronger. Then came an unexpected call from Elena Mendez, Carlos's wife, a prominent Miami philanthropist. Mr. Garcia, I received an anonymous package today, she said, her tone clipped. Photos of my husband and your wife. I assume you know about this. Daniel kept his voice neutral. I recently learned of it, yes. I didn't send anything, but I'm not surprised someone did. Elena paused, calculating. What's your next move? I'm handling my side, Daniel said. What you do with this is up to you. She thanked him and hung up, her silence heavy with intent. Daniel sensed a storm brewing for Carlos. By Sunday, Javier's update confirmed Sophia and Rafael were scrambling. The hotel had demanded cash after the card issue, draining Sophia's personal account. Their texts showed panic. How did this happen? Rafael wrote, Is Daniel onto us? Sophia's reply, No way. He's clueless. Daniel smiled grimly, forwarding the exchange to Maria. This is gold, she replied. We can use this to prove intent to deceive. Daniel also reached out to a realtor, quietly exploring options to sell their brownstone. He wasn't ready to confront Sophia yet, but he wanted every exit strategy in place. Monday morning, Daniel got a call from Richard Alvarez, VP of HR at Sophia's agency. We need to discuss your wife, he said, his tone grave. Can you meet today? Daniel agreed. Arriving at their downtown office by 9 a.m., Richard and the company's lawyer, Patricia, greeted him in a conference room. We received an anonymous package, Patricia said, sliding a folder across the table. It details an inappropriate relationship between Sophia and Rafael, plus falsified expense reports. Daniel feigned shock, flipping through the evidence, hotel receipts, emails, even a photo from the plaza. I had no idea, he lied, his voice steady. Who sent this? We don't know, Richard said. But it's thorough. We've scheduled a meeting with Sophia and Raphael at 10. You're welcome to stay. Daniel nodded. I need to hear this. When Sophia and Raphael entered, their faces fell at the sight of him. What's he doing here? Sophia demanded, her voice sharp. I invited him, Richard said calmly. Sit down. The meeting was brutal. Patricia laid out the evidence. Months of misuse of company funds, an undisclosed affair violating policy. Sophia tried to deflect, claiming it was just teamwork, but the proof was ironclad. Raphael stayed silent, his confidence shattered. Effective immediately, you're both terminated, Patricia announced. Sophia's eyes flashed to Daniel. You did this, she hissed. He met her gaze, unflinching. I didn't make you lie or steal, Sophia. Those were your choices. Security escorted them out to collect their belongings. As Sophia passed Daniel, she whispered, This isn't over. He smiled faintly. It's closer than you think. Back home, Daniel prepared for the final act, knowing Sophia's world was crumbling, and he was just getting started. Daniel stood in the kitchen of their Coral Gables brownstone, the silence heavy after Sophia's return from New York. She stormed in, slamming her suitcase down, her eyes blazing with accusation. You set me up, she said, pouring a glass of wine with shaking hands. Daniel leaned against the counter, his voice calm. I didn't make you book the plaza with my card or fake expense reports. That was all you. Sophia glared, draining half her glass. You ruined my career. HR had no right to fire me. Daniel raised an eyebrow. They had proof. Someone sent it. Not me. He pulled out his phone, opening a file with the cloned data from her device. I know about the $25,000 loan you forged my name on, he said, watching her flinch. And the $15,000 you funneled to your secret account. Then there's Carlos Mendez, on top of Raphael. Sophia's face paled, but she recovered quickly. You're spying on me? That's low, even for you. Daniel shook his head. Low as lying for months, Sophia. I'm just done being your fool. He slid a folder across the counter. 2 options. We fight this in court, and I use every piece of evidence. Your affairs, the fraud, everything. Or we settle quietly. You return what you took, and we split the house fairly. Sophia stared at the folder, her fingers tightening around her glass. You think you've won, she muttered. I haven't won anything, Daniel said. I'm just taking back my life. She stood abruptly, pacing. I need time to think. You have until tomorrow, Daniel replied, grabbing his keys. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. As he walked out, Sophia called after him. You're not the saint you think you are. He didn't turn back. Never said I was. At his new Brickell apartment, leased days earlier, Daniel slept soundly, unburdened by the weight of her betrayal. The next morning, his phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Option 2. I'll call a mediator. He nodded to himself, unsurprised. She'd seen the evidence and knew a court battle would expose her. He met with Maria, his lawyer, to finalize the strategy. She's cooperating, Maria said, reviewing the text. Smart move. With the house funded by your inheritance, we'll ensure you get your share. The loan fraud strengthens our case. Daniel handed over the forged documents. What about her debts? Maria smirked. She'll own those. We'll make it airtight. Over the next week, Daniel moved fast. He listed the brownstone with a realtor who estimated a quick sale given the hot Miami market. He secured his personal valuables in a storage unit and opened new bank accounts, transferring what remained of his savings. Javier's final report arrived, detailing Sophia's meetings with Carlos Mendez at the Brickell condo, plus a third man, a minor client Daniel hadn't suspected. She's been juggling a lot, Javier said over the phone. Want me to keep digging? Daniel declined. I've got enough. Thanks, man. The evidence was overwhelming. Hundreds of texts, receipts, and photos, all cataloged for the mediator. Meanwhile, Daniel doubled down on his transformation. At the gym, he lifted heavier, his trainer pushing him to new limits. You're killing it, the trainer said, noting his progress. Daniel felt it too, 15 pounds lighter, muscles defined, his confidence surging. At work, he pitched a bold campaign that landed a major client, earning a promotion to senior strategist. His boss clapped him on the shoulder. You're stepping up, Garcia. Big things ahead. Daniel smiled, feeling like a man reborn. Sophia, meanwhile, unraveled. Her termination from the agency spread through Miami's tight-knit marketing scene, tarnishing her reputation. Laura texted Daniel with updates. Sophia's been calling in favors, but no one's biting. She's toxic now. Daniel also learned from Javier that Elena Mendez had confronted Carlos, who is now facing a messy divorce and a demotion at his firm. Elena's family influence ensured his fall was swift. Daniel hadn't planned that, but it felt like justice. The mediation session came a week later, held in a neutral downtown office. Sophia sat across from Daniel, her posture stiff, avoiding his gaze. The mediator, a sharp woman named Claudia, outlined the terms. The house would be sold, proceeds split 70-30 in Daniel's favor due to his inheritance. Sophia would repay the $25,000 loan and cover her secret credit card debt. This is generous, Claudia said, glancing at Sophia. Given the evidence, a judge would likely award Mr. Garcia more. Sophia signed the agreement, her jaw tight. I just want this over, she muttered. As they left, Sophia lingered. You've changed, she said, her voice low. You're not the pushover I married. Daniel met her eyes. I stopped letting you walk over me. That's the difference. She looked away, then walked out without another word. Daniel drove to his apartment, the weight of the past lifting. The house sold within days, netting him a substantial sum. He invested half in a tech startup that had scouted him for consulting, a move that promised growth. That evening, Laura called. Heard Sophia's moving to Atlanta, she said. Trying to start over. Daniel nodded, unsurprised. And Rafael? His wife kicked him out, Laura said. He's crashing with a friend, begging for his old job back. Daniel thanked her, then hung up, feeling a quiet satisfaction. He hadn't destroyed them. They'd done that themselves. He'd simply shone a light on their choices. At his apartment, Daniel stood on the balcony, the Miami skyline glittering below. He'd secured his future, rebuilt his body, and reclaimed his confidence. The man Sophia had mocked was gone, replaced by someone who knew his worth. Tomorrow, he'd meet Laura for coffee, a tentative step towards something new. For now, he raised a glass to himself, not for revenge, but for the strength to walk away and start again. Daniel Garcia stood on his brick-held balcony, the Miami skyline shimmering under a late summer sunset. 6 months had passed since the divorce papers were signed, and the man who once flinched at Sophia's betrayal now thrived. The sale of their Coral Gables brownstone had closed, leaving him with a hefty sum to start fresh. He'd invested in a promising tech startup, accepting their offer to join as CFO. The role meant a move to New York, a city pulsing with opportunity, far from the ghosts of his past. Before leaving Miami, Daniel met Laura for coffee at a Bayside cafe. She'd left Sophia's old agency for a better gig at a rival firm, her loyalty during his ordeal forging a bond. You're looking good, Daniel, she said, stirring her latte. Happier. He nodded, sipping his espresso. Took a while, but I'm free now. Their conversation flowed easily, touching on work, ambitions, and cautious hints of something more. I'm in New York next month for a conference, Laura said, her smile tentative. Maybe we could grab dinner? Daniel agreed, sensing a spark worth exploring slowly. In New York, Daniel settled into a modest Brooklyn apartment, a far cry from the brownstone, but his own. He threw himself into the startup, structuring deals that landed them a major funding round. His colleagues noticed the change, sharper focus, quiet confidence. You're a machine, Garcia, his CEO said after a pitch won a key investor. Daniel just smiled, knowing each success rebuilt a piece of himself Sophia had tried to erase. He kept up his gym routine, now 20 pounds lighter, his stamina rivaling men a decade younger. One evening, a LinkedIn notification pinged. Sophia had viewed his profile. Curious, Daniel checked her page. She'd landed a low-level marketing job in Atlanta, a steep fall from her Miami glory. Mutual contacts whispered she was struggling, her reputation still tarnished. Then came an unexpected email from her. Saw your startup in the news, she wrote. Congrats. I messed up, Daniel. I'm sorry. Her words stirred no anger, only closure. He typed a brief reply. Thanks. Hope you find your path. He hit send, then closed the laptop, done with her chapter. Meanwhile, Rafael's life unraveled further. Laura shared that he'd failed to reconcile with his wife, who'd exposed his affair to their social circle. Jobless and ostracized, he'd moved to a small Florida town, working odd gigs. Carlos Mendez faced worse. Elena's divorce proceedings stripped him of his executive role and most assets, her family's influence ensuring he'd never recover in Miami. Daniel hadn't orchestrated their downfalls, but their consequences felt like a natural balance. Therapy became Daniel's anchor, a weekly session to unpack the betrayal and rebuild trust in himself. His therapist pushed him to reconnect with old friends, so he did, hosting a small dinner in Brooklyn with college buddies who marveled at his transformation. "You're like a new man," one said, raising a beer. Daniel laughed. "Same guy, just awake now." The nights out, the laughter, the genuine connections, they healed parts of him he hadn't realized were broken. When Laura visited New York, their dinner stretched into a walk along the Hudson. "I admired how you handled everything," she admitted, pausing by the water. "You didn't lash out. You just rose above." Daniel shrugged. "Had to. Sinking to their level wouldn't fix me." Their hands brushed, and neither pulled away. They agreed to stay in touch, letting whatever was growing between them unfold naturally, built on honesty. A year after the divorce, Daniel stood on his balcony, the Brooklyn Bridge aglow in the distance. His startup was thriving, with talks of an IPO on the horizon. He'd started dating casually, enjoying conversations free of hidden agendas. An email from Sophia arrived, brief and reflective. "Atlanta's tough, but I'm learning. You were right about consequences. Be well." Daniel didn't reply. There was no need. Her words were an echo, not a tether. He poured a whiskey, raising it to the city lights. The memory of Sophia's cruel joke at the ocean breeze, "I'd trade Daniel for that tall guy," no longer stung. It had shattered him once, but from those pieces, he'd built something stronger. Laura texted, confirming plans for her next visit. Daniel smiled, typing a quick reply. Life wasn't perfect, but it was his, authentic, earned, and open to new possibilities.